The camera inside of Cinema 4D is quite versatile. So versatile that you can even animate it along a path. So let me just go ahead and play this for you and show you this camera just going along this path here. This is a spline. But before we get into talking about how to do that, let's just talk about some of the basic properties you'll find in the cameras and how to create one. So up here, we can create a camera. We can create a target camera, which of course will point at something, stereo camera for 3D, motion camera, and a crane camera like you see in the movies. So the camera, when we select it, has properties that we can change to make it look like a real world camera. We can change the projection, so we can go to parallel, left, right, more, bird's eye view, frog view, gentleman's view. I mean, all kinds of crazy stuff in there. We can change the focal length, which is of course important. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create a brand new scene so you can more clearly see how these things are changing. So I'm going to zoom out and let's see how things are changing. And this box here is what the camera is looking at. And we can go ahead and change the focal length that you see here. We can change the film gate of the camera. You can also change the type of film that you want to use when you're recording, as you see here by the focal length, or you can go to this little drop down. So you could choose like a super wide. You could choose an 8mm, 35mm, and more. So what you should do, I think, is just try these different angles, and you see this is extremely massive, and just see how they make your scenes look. You can change your field of view vertically and horizontally. Any film offsets that you might need, Y and X axis. You can choose a focus object and simply drag it into this list. For example, if I choose, let's say, I'll grab a cube. I'll choose my camera and my focus object. I'll just throw this cube right on in there. And then there it is. It focuses in on that cube. I'll undo this so you can see the difference. Look how wide this is until I tell the camera that its focus object is the cube. I can change any white balance, and I can choose from this list here. So it's an overcast day, fluorescent light, tungsten, candle, and more. And I can have the camera affect lights only. And I can also export the camera to an AFX file. Now we also have the ability to, of course, work with the stereoscopic 3D, physical, basic. We can name the camera, which is always helpful. And let's talk about very quickly how to prevent the camera from moving around if you want to frame it. So let me quickly open up a recent file. And let's say that I try to move this camera around. And you see I'm holding down the Alt or Option key and I can't do anything because we have this protection tag on it. And you simply right click on your camera and you see I named this Hero camera, which means it's my main camera for rendering. And I can go to Cinema 4D tags and simply put a protection tag on it, which locks it down. But when I want to start to pose things or move my scene around, I can click this little guy right here and it temporarily locks and unlocks that camera. I can change around in my scene, move around, find a different angle, look at my scene, and then click on this guy again, and it goes right back to the protection tag that was set there. So let's hop back over, now that we talked about some of the camera settings, to talk about how you can animate the camera along a spline. I'm going to once again create another scene. I'm going to middle mouse button to go to a front view, and I'll quickly draw out a spline freehand, just like this. I'm going to create a camera. And all my camera properties, what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on it, and we're going to put a tag on this guy. And what I want to do is put an align to spline. Then what I want to do, let me come here and move this up, is I want to choose the spline path, which is this right here. So I'll grab the spline, throw it right on in there. And notice the camera goes right to the beginning of that spline. And then all I have to do now, let me go ahead and middle mouse again and show you something. The camera's not really pointing along the right direction. So we have to tell it to point along. Let me just go ahead and change my tool here. We want to change this to go. Let me go click on this tag here to get back to where I was. Always go back to the tags when you're editing tags. Tangential. And now the camera will face the tangents of this guy here. And we can animate along that particular path. You can also change the axis if you need to. But when you animate the camera like you animate anything in Cinema 4D, it will stay along this path. And if need be, feel free to add another tag, for example, align to path, to help you to keep that nice and smooth. So what I'm going to do is go back to my align to spline, and then let me show you how to animate this now. So on the first frame, we see we are nowhere. So that is the position, and it's currently at 0. So I'm going to go ahead to this guy here and right click on the position, and I'm going to add a keyframe. Then I'll go to the end of my animation or somewhere else inside of my power slider. And I'm going to simply take this position and bump it all the way up by sliding right here. Where's this position to 100%. Right click again, animation, add keyframe. And when I screw up the power slider, check it out. So that's how you can animate your camera going along a spline. You can do all kinds of cool stuff, like show maybe someone running from a ghost or a ghost chasing someone, which is always fun. Maybe going through a building, following a car, all kinds of great stuff you can do. So guys, as you can see, the camera is versatile. You can change it to match real world cameras. You can animate it normally. You can have it aiming at things by making a target object, and you can even animate it along a spline. All right. Once again, the camera is located right up here, and you can choose from several different types here.